What's up, child of God? You see, our mission here is to change the whole world to a place full of good vibes. And how can we do that? Well, my friend, is first by changing the mindset of each and every soul out there, by making sure that it is transformed and able to think of the virtues which guide us here. My friend, these virtues are honesty, forgiveness, peace, repentance, and love. The love of God, my friend. Loving your neighbor unconditionally the way you love yourself. And now, to add on to that, let me share with you something from this book here, which you normally read, my friend, called the Book of Wisdom. If it's your first time here, you can check out different episodes we've been reading this book. Today, it tells us about this. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. My friends, that is from Romans 12 2 going down. Child of God, speaking about transforming our mindset. May God help us through the videos that we shall see, good babe soul, to understand them in a different way. Get to see how different earthlings like ourselves live, believe, and act from different places of this world. And as you be going through these videos, my friend, we shall not be alone. We shall be guided and helped by our Maker and Creator, whom we shall ask for their help before we dive in. So interesting, child of God. Let's take some few seconds and talk with the Creator before we dive in and take a look at the videos. Dear Lord Father, our Maker and Redeemer, thank you, dear Lord, for giving us a chance to be alive again in this day, Father. All glory and honor belong unto you, Father. Thank you for you have forgiven us all our sins, Father, by the sacrifice of your Son. Dear Lord, may you help us, dear Father, to be worthy in spreading your love to all souls out there, Father. Impact every person that shall see these videos with your love and goodness, Father. This child, today's viewer that have joined us, may you bless them abundantly and be with them from wherever they are watching from. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in, good vibe soul.
Go over some of the things that I heard in this meeting. It's very diabolical. All the perpetrators of this event are here. They're building up from a planned disaster by the use of directed energy weapons, which you can hear that interview in full by Googling the plan to burn up Northern California. And of course,
this is on your site, stopthecrime.net.
Yes, and I am, of course, Deborah Taveras, and I do run the website stopthecrime.net, where you can find that plan to burn up Northern California as well. But the agenda here today by the perpetrators here in Northern California was to, again, discuss the community warning program, preparing for a more resilient county. Now, for many of you, I've reported on resilient cities. I would recommend that you go to the YouTube Kill Cities by Rothschild and Rockefeller to understand what resilient planning is all about in your town. This is happening here in Sonoma County, but it's an extension of UN Agenda 21 policies.
Because one of the things I asked him is, I said, I get it, but I don't get it. The children. You got to, I have such a problem with this. You got to explain this one to me. And he said, well, first of all, you're looking at it the wrong way. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, they don't define children the way you do. They don't define the world the way you do. The choices that you face are not their choices, right? They look at it completely differently. And I said, well, okay, so how do they look at it? And he said, for them, everything is defined by their one fundamental, all-consuming purpose. I said, which is what? He said, to defeat God, right? Because this is the moment. I mean, for them, it's about the real God. The true gods are them and Satan, there, right? And so he said, children are the closest thing on earth to God, because we are created in the image of God. And as you know, from the moment we're created, we haven't had time to be corrupted and to stray. So for them, the younger you are, the closer you are to God, the more pain they can inflict on God. So the more you can make a baby or a small child suffer, the greater your victory over God. And that is the only consideration for them.
My name is Gary the Numbers Guy. I'm a numerologist, astrologer, and the information you hear in this video just could save your life, of a loved one, or yourself. Ever since I started studying numerology right after 9/11, it got me to thinking, is there a pattern to this? And what I discovered is absolutely horrifying. Whenever it's the 11th, the 29th, or any day that adds up to an 11, there seems to be a lot of plane crashes in the world. Basically, if you're going to get on the plane on the 11th, 29th, or any day that adds up to an 11, or say when the flight number adds up to an 11, things go wrong.
I don't think people understand how powerful the law of assumption is. Now, if you don't already know, the law of assumption is the term coined by this man, Neville Goddard, to explain the phenomena that we become what we think about. Now, he carved out a simple practice for using the law of assumption to get whatever you want, whether it be a new car, new house, relationship, anything. It's called Inner Conversations, and this works, okay? I personally have used this to manifest over 14,000 followers overnight, a lost phone from a 2-mile river, and even a brand new truck in 3 days. I'll teach you how to use it for yourself in just a few steps. Step 1, know exactly what you want, whether it be a house, a car, a job, whatever. Step 2, find a quiet place and relax the body. You can use the LOB technique. LOB stands for longer out breath. So you close your eyes, breathe in for a count of 4, for example, then exhale for a count of 5, 7, 10, 15. Doesn't matter as long as your out breath is longer. You're going to do this for 3 to 5 minutes. During that 3 to 5 minutes, anytime your mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath. Step 3, you're going to mentally call a friend, all right? So in your imagination, say their name. It can be a friend or a loved one. Ideally, it's someone who would be happy for you hearing your good news. Step 4, carry on an inner conversation from the premise of fulfilled desire. Make it no longer than 5 to 15 seconds so it's easily repeatable. Tell them the good news and hear them genuinely congratulate you. Hear the joy in their voice as they tell you. You don't need to visualize anything, just auditory imagination. And finally, step 5, repeat until satisfied, okay? You want to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually satisfied, and it feels real, okay? It has to feel genuine. That's why you want to hear their voice, hear the genuine response they would have, congratulating you on your good news, whatever it is.
Someone tweeted at me, "Why are you so weak and bad at sports?" Now, does this guy actually believe it? I doubt it. He just thought it would get me angry. But what it actually was a fastball down the middle. And so I just excerpted his tweet and said, well, of course Jews don't really participate in athletics. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power. That's what we use to divert the energy of the Gentiles while we take over the systems of power.
George are doing the hermaphrodite.
Yes, they are. And that's interesting. All of them are giving occultic secret society signs on Seinfeld. Seinfeld was a show that if you dissected would find incredible occultism and symbology, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Here's Philip 66.
What I've discovered in realizing that they were practicing a Hebrew mysticism, the letter V in Hebrew is 6, right?
Oh yes, at the vowel. Yeah, that's correct.
Instead of...
Yeah.
So when you look at VW there, you actually see 2
very
V's,
interesting.
Right? W, which
and then,
I found the number 66 is the number of the fallen angels.
Wow.
And so W actually means the fallen angels in magic. And VW, he crossed the 2 V's, making 666 because he knew. And
incredible.
They realized that Hitler is practicing Hebrew magic, okay? You know, that one's for a little.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to these fallen angels.
It does indeed. The fallen angels that have taught these men these horrible things. Samael is a name for the devil. Lilith, by the way, is the consort of the devil. This is the mistress of the devil. There we have Baphomet, the horned god. Well, he's saying that's for the sign for W, but is it? I would think it's the unholy trinity. Here's simply the sign of the devil by Prince William. And this, oh my.
Self-made into an angel.
I understand.
Never go to sleep without a request to your subconscious. Your subconscious mind is directing your entire life. It is the programs that are running in your brain that influence what you see out here. And so the reason why saying them at night is so important, because in these sleepy states, especially right before you go to bed, that's when you have access to your subconscious mind. So my favorite affirmations are: number 3, show me how good it can get. Show me how good it can get. So when you wake up, your brain is now looking for evidence that affirms that thought, showing you how good life really is. Number 2, everything is always working out for me. This is my favorite. Everything is always working out for me. What a beneficial belief to have for yourself in your own life. And number 1, thank you for showing me that this issue has been resolved. A little bit of gratitude in there, so that gives you a sense of being grateful that it's already been done, but also whatever problem that you're struggling with, trusting that the solution has come and has.
The smartest thing to do would be to place puppets in influential positions. Invest in every single large corporation so you're the largest shareholder. Buy all the media companies so the population only receives information you want them to receive. Fund scientific research so you can control the consensus. Establish surveillance networks so you can keep an eye on everything and everyone. And just to make sure no one catches on to your manipulation, you'd regularly distract them with scandals, entertainment, sports, and celebrities.
Today, Vladimir Putin reveals to the world a secret that European has been hiding from African for more than a millennium: that Jesus was black.
Somebody on Facebook posted this, and it looks to be lasers shooting out of the sky and lighting things on fire. People think that the fires in LA are being started by this laser. You can let me know what you think, but I did some research and it appears to be maybe transformers blowing up or power lines exploding, causing that green energy-like mark. Also, I am terribly devastated by anyone that has been affected by these fires. I have friends that are going through it right now and it is really scary, so just stay safe. And if there is something malicious behind these fires, then I am so pissed off.
If you've ever wondered about what drowning feels like, the process of drowning, the stages of drowning, I've been researching for 3 days, so you do not have to, so sit down, baby cakes. I'm also going to be reading quotes of people that have actually drowned and been resuscitated. The first step of drowning is struggling to keep your airway clear of water. This is a visual of stage 1. This step is only an issue for people that cannot swim or do not have the energy to swim. For a non-swimmer, it takes about 60 to 90 seconds to go to stage 2. If you are a swimmer, you're a good swimmer, this stage will not end until swim failure, until you get too tired to stay above water. You can last hours treading warm water, but in cold water, you can go in as little as 10 minutes due to the cooling and incapacitation of your muscles. Once you are no longer able to keep your airway clear of water, that's when stage 2 begins. Stage 2 is submersion and breath holding. Now, this stage only lasts as long as you can hold your breath, and there are a lot of factors that can affect a person's breath holding time. For one, the rate that your body consumes oxygen and then produces carbon dioxide. This is known as your metabolic rate. Other things can be the temperature of the water, your general physical fitness level, what clothing you're wearing. In cold water, your breath holding time is going to be much shorter due to the cold shock response. Sudden cooling of your skin sends a respiratory drive and you go into shock. In water that is 5 degrees Celsius, aka 41 degrees Fahrenheit, it took about 10 seconds for people wearing heavy normal clothing to get cold shock. It takes about 20 seconds for people in wetsuits to get cold shock. So it is, 10-second difference. If you jump into cold water and then immediately go into shock, the first 2 steps will be skipped and you'll go immediately into step 3, which is the aspiration of water. This is when any food, liquid, solid, anything gets into your lungs. You can aspirate on water, you can aspirate on vomit, you can aspirate on food. The entry of water into the pharynx can cause reflex swallowing. Reflex swallowing is the reason drowned victims a lot of times will vomit. It causes hypoxia-induced relaxation to the larynx, and when it's relaxed, it allows water to enter into the lungs. All different types of water give the same sensation when entering the lungs, but salt water can be more dangerous. More of it remains unabsorbed in the lungs, which can increase pulmonary pressure. Next step is step 5, which is pretty short. This is the time to unconsciousness, which depends on how much oxygen you already have stored in your body, but on average it takes about 75 seconds for a person to go unconscious. Step 5 is the amount of time to cardiorespiratory arrest. This is the stage in which terminal gasps occur. So this is when your body forces you to take a breath while being underwater because it is its last effort to get a little bit of oxygen and survive. Regular respiration occurs in this stage, and your blood pressure will continuously drop until it eventually reaches 0. Stage 6 is death, the inability to revive. But there is an exception to this when drowning takes place in very cold water, like 6 degrees Celsius. In this scenario, the aspiration of water may, by cooling the lungs, the heart, and the blood supply to the brain, produce selective brain cooling, which may increase your survival time by over 60 minutes. The survivors of this tend to be children and small adults. This is because they lose heat more quickly due to their surface area and mass ratio. Anyways, it is quite difficult to determine the pain and suffering of drowned victims, but because this information is so pivotal in a lot of legal cases, we have a lot of first-person testimonies of people that have actually drowned. I'm going to be starting with people that did not aspirate, meaning they did not inhale water. It was more of a numb feeling than anything, kind of distant, like I was watching everything unfold from a different perspective, like it wasn't really me that was experiencing everything. I think my mind was too dulled by panic and fear and exhaustion to really notice any pain at all. Just a second or two later, the panic feeling left me. The next thing I knew, I was looking at a moving wall of beautiful colors. Seashells, sea fish, quiet, beautiful as my body slowly drifted down, down. No panic, no pain, no regrets, no worries. The most pleasant experience I've ever had. All I can remember was it seems like I was looking through a kaleidoscope of pretty colors. I would have disappeared into oblivion peacefully and painlessly. That peaceful feeling is all a part of the euphoria most people feel before death. If you die drowning, I would say it's one of the more peaceful ways to go. After the worst 15 seconds of your life, of course. Now this is people that did aspirate, meaning they inhaled water. I give in to the lack of oxygen, going limp at this moment. There's no pain or fear. It's just simple and peaceful. I just started breathing. It was quite peaceful, not painful. I mean, I started thinking, well, at least I know that I will die peacefully. I finally inhaled. All the tension in my chest instantly cleared, and I felt almost if I was breathing in air. It was cold, which was alarming considering the water was warm, but I didn't exactly care. My whole body had gone lax, and I let my eyes slip shut. It felt like just falling asleep. I realized that no one could save me, and I began to just relax. I couldn't move. I didn't want to. I thought to myself, wow, this is a stupid way to die. I wonder what happens next. And it's like at that moment I calmed down and I couldn't feel anything. It felt like a meditation. Immediately after inhaling water, you'll feel very relaxed and peaceful for a moment or two. Also with no fear, until everything goes black and you pass out. It burned at first, but since the water was cold, it soothed me. Okay, I'm done now. I'm done. How we doing? How we doing? Are you okay? Okay. Just by the way, my comment section is a safe space to talk about any experiences you have with drowning, if you just want to rant. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about soap and soap suds and how everything you think about being clean is wrong.
If you know me and my content, you know how fascinated I am by dead eyes. So let's dive into it a little bit more. Dead eyes can often be attributed to those with dark tetrad personality types.
Deep narcissists have dead eyes. They almost can't help it. They can fake the smile, they can fake everything else, but the eyes, you have to be able to read it because you say, well, what are dead eyes? You'll know it when you see it.
So this article dives into the fact that narcissists and psychopaths often have eyes that look dead and the why behind it. So the article states that it is a dissociative state where the person disconnects from their true self. In this state, emotions are no longer felt, which removes any feeling of vulnerability. A bird's eye view is created where they look at the world from a safe place, and then a container of dominance is created, making others feel like they're exposed, vulnerable, or needing to be on the defend. It's kind of crazy because in some of the original videos that I posted about dead eyes, people will talk about how when they were being abused, they would see the eyes shift in their abuser. Or with a narcissistic partner or parent, they would notice how the eyes would change when they were using them for something. But this article also dove into the emotionless gaze. It says that a narcissist may exhibit this dead-eyed look due to their reduced capacity for empathy and emotional connection with others. Which is just wild. It is so crazy to me that you can look into someone's eyes and have these moments where the mask comes down and you can see a lack of empathy. You can see a lack of love. If you are highly intuitive, you can look into someone's eyes and literally read their energy. Like, that is wild. That is so crazy. And I do just want to point something out really quickly. It is fascinating to look at dead eyes, specifically when it comes to these dark tetrad personality types. But people can exhibit dead eyes for many different reasons, some of them having to do with trauma. So please do not think that I'm saying that anybody that has dead eyes is a narcissist. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just so fascinated by this topic.
Did you know there's a way to tell what someone thinks about you the first time they meet you? Someone taught me this 20 years ago, and sadly, I've never been able to turn it off, meaning I see it every time I meet someone for the first time, but it's pretty accurate. Now, even though that person who taught that to me ended up in prison for fraud through a company he was running that I was a part of, it still works pretty true. Granted, nothing is 100% accurate, but I can tell you, if you think about this, when you meet someone for the first time, it's pretty accurate. And it all has to do with the angle of their hand when they go to shake your hand for the first time. So here's what I see. When I go to shake someone's hand for the first time and I'm meeting them saying, hey, great to meet you, my name's Matt. When they come in for the shake, the angle of their hand will tell me what they want to convey in that moment. And it's all subconscious. The people who are shaking my hand have no idea they're doing it. But I'm always aware of the angle of their hand. So here's the 3 ways you can tell. Number 1, if they come in with a straight up and down handshake, they're coming in straight up and down, then usually they're looking at you as a team player on the same level as them, as an equal. There's nothing coming in. It's just they are on an even playing field as you, and that's usually the best you can go with in those scenarios. So if I'm meeting a coworker or I'm meeting a friend of a friend, whatever the case, if they're coming in with a straight handshake, it's a good start. If they are coming in with the under, meaning their hand and their palm is showing, that typically means that they look up to me in some fashion. They are looking at me as an expert, or they're wanting me to take care of them. There's some settings. So lots of times when Jen and I have done pastoral care, in any of those scenarios where we're being introduced as any kind of expert, where we come in and someone will come to shake our hand, and lots of times they will come in with the under because of the reputation that's been given, because of they're seeing us as an expert or as a figure of sorts where they're wanting help. Or it just could be that they're in a submissive fashion. So lots of times I will go to shake people's hand and I will come in as a submissive fashion, not even for the sense of I'm looking at them as an expert, but I'm being humble in a sense where I'll come in. And then lastly, this happens a lot, more than people realize, is the overarch. When typically older men will do this a lot of times, is when they go to shake your hand, their hand will already be angled over, making the other person turn towards, and it's a very overarching thing, meaning they want to be known as the expert in this scenario. They want you to know when they're meeting you that they are in control, that they are the dominant one. And so this plays out in tons of scenarios. There was a very high-ranking figure, a general one time that I was meeting, and it was myself that I was meeting, him for the first time, and I was meeting my boss. And my boss was younger than me, was a woman, but was in charge of the entire clinic. And she had developed a relationship with this general, and then I had developed a relationship with this general. Now, even though we both were Marines at one point and had developed a friendship, I remember clearly when her and I were standing next to each other, when I went to shake his hand, he came in with a huge overarch to me to shake my hand. And immediately when he went to meet the director who was in charge of everything, who he had better rapport with, an actual better relationship with, he came in as a team player. Because in that company, even though he was a general in the past, he was on an even playing corporate level as this person. Now, it was all subconscious. He didn't realize he was doing it. And I see people doing it all the time. Let's say I have a female coworker where I'm friends with this person. And, we just have a regular work relationship. But she's been conveying at home like, oh my gosh, I work with this guy, Matt, real great guy, whatever the case. When I go to meet the fiance, the husband, the boyfriend, whoever this guy is, if he's heard about me through his significant other, there's almost 100% chance that he will subconsciously come in with the overarch because he wants to know, hey, I'm in control here. And so lots of times people will get offended when they see the angle of the handshakes, but really it's the perfect negotiating scenario. Because if I'm coming into a negotiating environment and I know that person comes up with an overarch, then I'm going to stroke their ego throughout the negotiation. I'm going to build them up. I'm going to come in where let them feel like the expert, and it will just work better for me in the long run. Or if I know someone's coming in humbly, I'm going to speak life into them. I'm going to confidently convey that. It is one of the best things ever. The problem is you can never turn it off. You will always see the angle of people's handshakes. Now, again, it's not 100% accurate. There's going to be cases, I know. But this has helped me so much over the years when it comes to reading people's body language when I go to meet them for the first time. And I use it all the time now. There was one time, 2 times actually, a guy who we were on a very even playing field, I think professionally and whatever level we were at, came in with a huge overarch. And I think by this time I remember clearly taking his hand and turning it to where it was straight up and down. And I do remember his face going like immediately, like it was like a glitch in his brain of what just happened, because it was all subconscious of him of coming in dominant, and to have a man take his hand and turn it to be straight up and down made him geek out. But I can tell you, look for that when you go to shake someone's hand. You can immediately tell, not even just what they're thinking about you, but what they're thinking about you in this situation, in this scenario. Because if they were to go to meet a person, they might come in one way. But if someone conveyed who you were a speaker at an event, they conveyed your professionalism, whatever the case, they might change. And it just depends on the angle when they go to shake your hand.
Answer quickly. If they could not speak, would their actions make you feel loved? Your partner, your friends, your family. If they could not speak, would their actions make you feel loved? Do with the answer what you will.
Pro tip, best place to hide money? Now the only people who can steal from you are people with taste.
So look, I challenge y'all, the next time you pray, you ask God for these 3 things and watch how quick your life completely changes. The first one is you ask God to allow you to walk through every door that's meant for you. And any door that's not meant for you, you ask him for discernment to be able to tell the difference. The second one is you ask God to order your steps so that everything that you do is in line with your purpose. And the third one is you ask God to bridle your tongue so that you only speak life, prosperity, and health over you and all the people around you.
ChatGPT is free to roam the internet now, but you get to tell it where to go. So ChatGPT released Operator yesterday. Operator is their word for a little chatbot that you can say, hey, go do whatever you want on the web, right? Like you give it a task like, go plan a trip for me on my next vacation, or go buy me tickets, or hey, go add some items to my Amazon cart, or hey, go find me a sales lead. Yes, it's not just for fun. So it actually goes and does that. You have a little pane in the chat window that opens up, and you can see ChatGPT moving the mouse around and clicking on websites and typing things in like a person. And it's really slow. Like, I'm not going to tell you that it's super fast, but the amazing thing is you can go and do something else. You can go to a different tab, you can go away, you can come back later, and it will check in with you at various points. It's not going to buy something without checking in with you. And it is designed to be cautious, right? So if it is in doubt about whether something is safe to do or whether something would involve money, it's going to stop and say, hey, I just want to check in and make sure this is okay. I saw someone using this ChatGPT operator to go to another large language model, Gemini, and work with Gemini to create a prompt that could be used on an AI building tool to build a site. So these intelligence layers are starting to turn into a skyscraper, right? They're starting to layer up so that you have more and more chatbots working together to get larger tasks done for you. We're going to see a lot more of that. Operator, which is, again, I think not a great name, is, how do I put this? Probably the first widely accessible agent that can browse the web and be available for anyone who wants it. It is true that Claude Model Context Protocol came out a while ago. But one, it was named Model Context Protocol, and people don't know what that means. And two, if you look at how it actually worked, it was really hard to set up and hard to get working, and people could browse the web, but most of us didn't. Operator, you just go to the OpenAI Operator site and you try it. Here's the drawback, though. It is part of the OpenAI Pro plan, which is $200 a month. So I don't think too many people are going to actually try it yet, and that's actually okay with OpenAI because this is still very much a janky tool. When I was playing with it, adding, of course, beanie hats to my Amazon account, it decided, without me telling it to empty out my Amazon cart. I am one of those people that keeps all these things I'm thinking about and trying to remember to think about buying in the Amazon cart, and I don't intend to check them out. I just want to think about them. Fine. Well, Operator went in, and I didn't tell it to. I just said, add 2 beanies to cart once you find them. And I didn't tell it to check out, and it didn't. It adds the 2 beanies and then says, this is not an organized cart. And I'm like, I don't care. But like it says this is not an organized cart to itself, not to me. Well, I am going and doing something else. And then it just starts emptying out items in the cart. There's like 42 items in there. And it emptied them all out without telling me. Now, I will say the error recovery was really good because I was like, hey, wait a minute. What happened to all the items in my cart? Can you go back into the error logs and fix that? And it sort of checked in and said, okay, I see 500 items in your save for later. I know, I'm really bad. I see 500 items in your save for later. Which ones do you want me to add back to cart? And I said, no. You emptied items out of the cart. You removed them. Where did they go? And then ChatGPT told me, that was I put them in save for later. Is that okay? And I was like, oh, well, in that case, they're not lost. That's fine. So it does weird things sometimes. It is janky. I think there's a reason they're calling it a research preview. But it did feel like I was looking at the future because you can, tell ChatGPT to go build you a website and we'll start working on it. You can tell ChatGPT to find you sales leads. You can tell ChatGPT to do your competitive marketing research. You can tell it to plan your next trip to Arizona. Like, there's lots of options. And I found that even though it felt slow and janky at times, it's incredible to see the intelligence that we have, like, in a chatbot now all over the web. Like, it's really remarkable. So that's Operator. I wanted to give you, like, a real sense of it. I wrote up a big detailed piece on it on my Substack as well. So there you go. OpenAI Operator. It's a weird world.